Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call the regular special council meeting to order for Thursday, May 1st, and it's 6:30. Before we start, I just would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, represented by the Kasepsan and Songhees nations, whose stewardship of these lands continue to this date. Item 2, approve of the agenda. May I have a mover and seconder to adopt today's special council agenda and receipt of the near and long-term agenda. But before I do, I do understand you have a notice of motion that you want to add to the agenda. I'll shift the things off the consent agenda when I get to it. Whoops, I'll turn you on there, Councillor Dave. Go ahead.
Perfect. Did you want to do the notice of motion or the agenda first?
Just the notice of motion.
Okay. Sorry, just a second. I didn't know I was going to be allowed, so 1 sec.
I think it's fair enough just to say that you want to add a notice of motion. It's going to be item 7.2, and when we get to it, I'll just have you read your notice of motion.
Excellent. Thank you.
Perfect.
Sorry, I was pulling it up, so I had
and as far as the rest of the agenda, pulling things off the consent, we'll do it when we get to the consent agenda.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So may I have a mover and seconder to adopt today's special council meeting as amended, please? Thank you. Thanks. Councillor Olson and Councillor Grove. Any opposed? Seeing none, I shall move on. Thank you. Motion carries. Mayor's message. I have a few things that I want to cover off. They're kudos, they're shout outs to the community. First of all, I'd like to do a shout out. I missed this one. It's the 5th Wandafuka Scout Group who collected 358 pounds of litter from the Allendale district area on April 23rd. And also would like to shout out to Charlotte Gorley and the Colwood team for their litter pickup event on Saturday, April 26th along Ocean Boulevard. I think I participated in that. Maybe that's why we didn't get very much garbage, but we only collected about 56 pounds of garbage. But still, it's a lot. You know, as mayor and council, we are so proud of our residents who volunteer to keep our city clean and beautiful. Their volunteer work reflects the pride we have in our city, and I certainly do. Second, I would just like to strongly encourage residents in Colwood to come out to our Ideas Fair. That's our town hall event, our annual town hall event that we have. And it's going to be held between 3 and 5 p.m. On Saturday, May 10th. And it's going to be in Colwood Corners in one of those vacant offices there where we're going to be set up for there. So really, it's a great event. I believe it's really interactive. I love it because you get to talk to people and you get to talk about the issues that are important to them. And you get to share ideas. A lot of good ideas come out of that. So as you can see, we really take it to heart, what we get for feedback, and it always ends up in our priorities. So that feedback does really count. So I really encourage citizens to get out to that if they can. Some of the topics that we're going to cover, it's not all of them, but some of the main ones are transportation, traffic, parking, health, disaster resilience, youth volunteers, litter, and many, many more topics. This week is a National Volunteer Week, and it's ending on Saturday, May 3rd. We're going to wrap up things with a volunteer fair event on Saturday, May 3rd from 10 to 12 noon at Westshore Parks and Rec. That's on the pool viewing deck. The goal of this event is for volunteer groups to promote their programs and initiatives and recruit volunteers. So I shouldn't have said that, and no one's going to show up. It's also, this week's also Youth Week in Colwood. And I hope members of council can take the time to participate in some of the planned events. I know Councillor Grove is out handing popsicles out today. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there, but That's all I have for messages, and I'm just going to go on to item 4, which is adoption and receipt of the minutes. We have a mover and seconder for the adoption and receipt of the minutes under section 4.1 of the agenda. Are there? Thank you. It's Councillor Ward and Councillor Jordison. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. We'll get to our favorite part, public participation. We had one written submission that was received prior to the agenda publication, and that's in the minutes, right, or on the agenda. And we had 3 submissions that came in after publication of the agenda, and they will be attached tomorrow. So just some quick rules here. I just want to remind the public that comments pertaining to the following matter that has been a subject already to a public hearing is prohibited at this meeting, and that's bylaw number 1700-10, Colwood OCP number 1700, 2018 amendment number 10. That's on the environmental development permit area as amended. At this time, I would like to welcome the public. I don't believe we have anyone registered electronically. Is that correct? Right, thank you. Anyone from the club? Carol, please. And Carol, I understand you want to talk to 3 items? Okay. Okay. We'll go with 2. Go ahead, Carol.
Scenic is pleased this evening to express their appreciation for the work done by the city's building retrofit strategy technical report. This report is comprehensive and reflects the work we need to do as a community to lower our GHG emissions. The prospect of further increased average temperature, variability in precipitation, more frequent high winds events, along with rising sea level, it becomes necessary that we promote and develop many of the mentioned strategies in the report sooner rather than later. We are also pleased to note that Colwood is high on the heat pump installation list for residential buildings, and that in January 2024, the city adopted the Zero Carbon Building Step Code. We are aware that the city has chosen to set an example for residents when looking to upgrade buildings and infrastructure of their own, with hopefully solar or the possibility on the radar. We look forward to asking our scenic members to report on the draft retrofit report to be issued tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please. Anyone from the public wishes to speak? Well, I guess we'll give you your second turn then, Carol. Sorry? Name and address. Yeah. Yeah. Name and address. We know you, Carol.
Carol Brown with Friends of Havenwood Park and Citizens Environment Network in Colwood. And I'm here this evening because I wish to express appreciation once again to the city for the creation of the volunteer coordinator's position. Through this city position, 18 volunteer groups are recognized and provided with opportunities to come together to share ideas and to collaborate. Through the community's volunteer showcase to be held on May 3rd, local volunteer groups have the ability to engage with the public and share their volunteer programs. We thank the city for their commitment to and appreciation for the value of volunteering in one's own local community.
Thank you very much, Carol. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, which is the consent agenda. And I've already been notified that there are 4 items that we're going to move from consent agenda to new business, under new business. So 6.2, which is the, is actually Heather, I think you're presenting it. That's on City of Colwood Accessibility Plan Adoption. We're going to pull that, and that's going to become 8.5. The next one is 6.4, which is Quarry Park Phase 2 Interim Park Treatment Plan. And we're going to move that. It's going to become 8.6. 6.5, Mari is the rezoning application RZ 444 or 000 or quadruple 014, 2420, 2426, 2428 Soup Road. And that will become item 8.7. And lastly, 6.7. You don't get away from us, Joshua. You're that's going to be moved. That's on the alternative cross section for VMP. That's going to go from 6.7 to 8.8 under new business. And at this point in time, is there any other items that anyone on council want to pull from the consent agenda? Seeing none, can I get a motion to pass the consent agenda then, please? Thank you, Councillor Ward and Councillor Jensen. Discussion, seeing none, call the question. Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes. Thank you. So we'll move on to notice of motion, item 7, 2 notices of motion, one from Councillor Ward. And there won't be any discussion today. It will be brought onto the agenda as new business at the next council meeting. And we also have one from Councillor Day. And same thing, just read your motions. So if I can get you to start off with it, Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. It's just a motion to direct staff to engage directly with what was formerly Gablecraft, now Path, to examine the feasibility of a off-leash dog park or dog run for a parcel of land, roughly triangular flat property located off Machosen Road between there and Mendez Place in Royal Bay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And 7.2, Councillor Day.
Thank you. My motion is for council, whereas public participation is a part of every committee and council agenda, and council does this to encourage participation in governance, and time is limited at the podium to keep meetings concise, and citizens go to great effort to inform council on the details known best to those who live within the area by writing to council. Therefore, be it resolved that public participation letters shared before or during the meeting be included in the minutes of the meeting under public participation. And be it further resolved that public participation speakers be noted by name and address, unless they request otherwise, as participants at the public participation portion of the meeting they attend, virtual or otherwise, with a brief note as to the substance of their presentation, if no letter is received.
Thank you very much, Councillor Day. Okay, we'll move on to item 8, new business. And I said we've added quite a few things, so we'll just try to move this along. And the first item is the invitation to quote award supply of fleet service truck. JR.
Through the chair. Thank you very much for the ability to speak this evening. So we're before you tonight with a request to award ITQ 2025 fleet service truck to Metro Motors. So this truck is a replacement for our existing service body apparatus, and it's being replaced according to the guidelines of the fleet policy. Basically, this services our fleet of public works, the fire fleet, looks after the pump stations. It's a very universally applicable truck, and something that we really can't do without. So it's a very important purchase for us, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Yep. Open the floor for questions from council. Okay, Councillor Day.
Thank you. What is the vehicle that you're currently using, and how does it differ from the one that we're getting?
Our current model is an older F550. Now, the big difference here is that we're upgrading the crane and the attachments that go on the service body of the truck. That's one of the key things. So essentially, our fleet policy is a 12-year life cycle. So that vehicle has reached the end of that life cycle. The apparatus on the back, too, is insufficient for our growth in fleet and also pump station infrastructure. So we're looking to right size the equipment relative to our need.
Great. Thank you very much.
And I'm also make it public here since we did it. I asked you the question in the washroom. But JR, if you could just explain to council, you know, that's the cost is 299,000 and your budget was 320. But what are the modifications they have to happen to get it up to so it is fully operational?
Through the chair, that's a great question. So this truck will basically come ready to go. The few things we'll need to buy for it are some lights for the roof, flashing lights, a radio, that sort of thing. But we will definitely be keeping under that $320,000 budget. Very, very limited outfitting at this point.
Okay, super. Thank you very much. Oh, okay. Thank you. Councillor Jensen is moving it. Seconder, Councillor Olson. Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the question. Are there any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. I'm looking forward to this one. Angie, Volunteer Coordinator, Volunteer Week 2025 and Volunteer Program Update. This item is just for information at this time. Please proceed.
Okay. Through the chair, mayor, and council, I'm delighted to be here this evening. It's National Volunteer Week, as you alluded to at the beginning, and as we heard from Carol. And so I thought tonight would be a great opportunity to give a little update on how we are supporting volunteerism and community involvement in Colwood and provide a little summary of how we're activating Volunteer Week. So far, as you heard from Carol, we've got 18 really engaged Colwood groups, and we started this role in June 2024, just as a little reminder. And I have to say, I just have to say, wow, like I know you probably already knew what great groups we had in Colwood, but it's amazing to see the passion and dedication and the leadership. It's really outstanding. And to me, it's a privilege to be able to support them in their work. So a little bit about how we're supporting volunteerism. So the 18 groups that we've engaged, these volunteer groups in Colwood, we've had 2 meetups together. And this has been an opportunity for them to meet one another, connect ideas, share resources, and plan together. And these groups actually were very instrumental in helping to plan our Volunteer Week activities. Some of the ways that we're also helping is by helping them find volunteers. So this is just some pictures of, we attended 2 Royal Roads University Campus Connect events. And this is an event that helps students and newcomers to connect with their community. So I was able to bring 4 different groups with me 2 different times, and all 4 of them had good reflections on it, had lots of people signing up to support their work. And then you would know in October 2024, we launched the Mayor's Good Neighbor Recognition. And as a city, it is important for us to recognize our citizens. And this is an opportunity for our citizens to nominate one another to recognize the good work that they're doing. So this is an ongoing initiative where citizens nominate their neighbors or fellow Colwood citizens to be recognized for the positive impacts that they make. And since we launched it, we've recognized 8 good neighbors for everything from helping to pick up litter, being a great neighbor, and leadership in the community, in our local community, in all sorts of different ways. In my role, I'm also supporting the formation of new volunteer community groups. So specifically right now, I'm working with the Latoria Creek Preservation Group and Pick Colwood. And this includes helping them to put some shape to their ideas, to connect with city resources and expertise, and to connect with other Colwood volunteer groups. And so with all this momentum, it's only makes sense that we should be celebrating National Volunteer Week here in Colwood. So we have activated this week. It's April 27th to May 3rd. So we're right in the middle of it. We have activated it with 3 different initiatives. It's a new Perk Pass program, volunteer spotlights, and then our new volunteer fair. So I'll tell you just a little bit more about those. So the volunteer perk passes is a way for us to support our volunteer groups by helping them to recognize their volunteers. So we have engaged with 8 business sponsors to help us by providing gifts for our volunteers. And so we end up distributing 210 perk passes. So that's through 12 of our Colwood groups. Some opted out. So that's 160 volunteers there. We distributed them to our council committee members, so 38 volunteers there. And then we also have 12 city event volunteers that received them. And just for your information, the businesses and groups that are sponsoring it are Royal Bay Bakery, Pilgrim Coffee House, Arts and Culture Colwood, Westland Insurance, Club Pilates, you can get a free Pilates class, and Save On Foods, Firehouse Subs, and then also ourselves. So lots of gifts, and I've heard some positive feedback from the volunteers going around and collecting their popcorn and Pilates classes, and it seems like it's going well. So we'll do a reflection afterwards and see with the businesses if they enjoyed participating. And then we're doing the volunteer spotlights, and you may have noticed those in the hallway when you came in today. You'll see these up on our social media. But 7 of our groups put forward volunteers that we could highlight as a volunteer spotlight initiative. And we asked our volunteers to tell us their most memorable moments while volunteering, surprising skills they learned or discovered in themselves, funny or unexpected experiences. And the stories are really quite heartwarming and really speak to the value of volunteering in our community. So you can check those out on social media if you haven't seen them yet. And then finally, we are having our first volunteer fair. We're calling it Colwood Involved, Community and Volunteer Showcase. And that's happening this Saturday from 10 till noon at West Shore Parks and Rec. And it's an opportunity to promote the initiatives of each of these groups, to help them connect with participants and volunteers. And we've got 13 of our Colwood groups who will be there participating. So as this is our first time activating Volunteer Week, we will spend some time in the coming weeks evaluating and reflecting the impact and effectiveness, and that should help us inform activities for next year. So that's all I had for tonight. So thanks for your time. If anybody has questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Angie. That was a great summary, an excellent summary. Open it to the floor to council for any questions. I'm not seeing any. You must have did a great job. Hey, Angie, I think I think I should put a letter together for all those the people that are sponsoring the tickets there. I think that's important that we do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We can do that.
Thank you. Councillor Grove, and then I'll go to you, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just, that's great, Angie. Really good news. I'm just curious if you have a sense of how far into this you are. It's fairly new, your position and the whole effort, but typically things tend to grow as you engage more. Do you feel like there's a whole sea of untouched volunteers? I mean, it must be growing. I just sort of wonder if you have a sense of that.
I mean, yes, there's a lot of great things happening in the community. I feel like we're just sort of touching on it. And I really am going to be looking to the groups to inform me on how we can continue to support that happening. So we'll be meeting as a group, another Colwood group meetup shortly after this, and I'm sure they'll have lots of ideas for what.
Yeah, that's awesome, because it seems to me that the city could be play an active role as you're proving out, obviously right off the start. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councillor Olson, did you want to? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. It was just for information only. Thanks very much, Angie. Great job. Okay, we'll move to 8.3. Carolyn Richmond, our climate planner, building retrofit strategy technical report. Over to you, Carolyn.
Thank you very much, Your Worship and Council, for your time tonight to receive this briefing, which provides you with a technical report towards a building retrofit strategy. This initiative was prioritized towards reducing our greenhouse gas emissions and also in order to provide safer, healthier buildings in Colwood that consider the current and future changes to the climate. So just a bit of a few highlights from the report and of this project. I have had the honor to work with great teams of people externally and internally on this. Lisa Westerhoff is from Westerhoff Climate Solutions has been the lead on the consultant team with staff from Introba and Modus. And this team of folks has worked on lots of similar types of projects, initiatives in other municipalities across BC and beyond. And Byron Grant is executive sponsor, and many other staff have been able to work with on this. So this strategy or this initiative, the Building Retrofit Strategy, is a priority project from the Climate Action Plan and was identified in the implementation plan for 2024 and is part of the, funded through the special initiative budget for 2024-2025. And the technical report, we're just happy to provide you with information that has been unfolded in the project so far that includes the data and analysis that has been done, providing a bit of a picture of our building stock and what that looks like for building retrofits across Colwood. And I just want to highlight that this is focused on existing buildings. We've got lots of great work being done for new buildings, but the bulk of our emissions coming from buildings is on existing buildings. And so this looks at also barriers and opportunities to how we increase those building retrofits. There's many current programs and policies at the federal, provincial, regional levels and what Colwood is currently doing. So this provides a picture of that and also considering how we might leverage what's currently going on at different levels. So far in the project, we've done 2 phases of public engagement. So this gives you a bit of a picture of what we've heard so far through that engagement, and that all of this work has enabled some initial recommendations towards a draft strategy. This slide just gives you a bit of a preview or picture of what's in that report. We have the building stock analysis has used data from different sources, and the consultants have analyzed that to give a bit of a picture of where Colwood sits in terms of buildings, the heating and water systems, as well as different information about our building stock around age and vintage and whatnot. But this picture shows you where we sit regionally in terms of home heating fuels in Colwood and electrical systems. So we're at about 56% estimated homes on electrical systems in Colwood, which is slightly below a regional average. And we're the 3rd highest in the region for homes heated by fossil fuels. This information is really helpful in terms of strategizing where we're at and what we need to consider taking action on and planning where our best bang for our buck is in terms of actions. The report outlines barriers and opportunities in a few ways. So this shows you under 4 different headings, there are barriers and opportunities that have been identified across BC that are towards increasing building retrofits. So those are, home and building owner awareness and capacity. There's a number of elements, details under that, equity and affordability. legal and regulatory structures, and industry and technology. So these really help to inform where we need to focus our energy. But specifically, our public engagement has given us more information about Colwood residents, building owners in Colwood, and what their barriers and opportunities are. So these 4 bullets just show you some of the barriers, the top barriers that we heard from folks in Colwood, being upfront costs, some uncertainties about benefits and cost savings, folks struggling with maybe a lack of information or expertise, and complexity of the retrofit process. Just a few highlights that you'll find in this technical report. One, that we've really thought a lot about in this project is it would be very ideal to have lots of data on all of our buildings. It would be ideal to know what the home heating and water systems are for all the buildings in Colwood, but unfortunately, that's not available to any municipality in BC currently, and it's a challenge for everybody. But there are some ways that we could overcome some of those challenges to have more increased data in the future, so we'd be able to monitor. The Colwood buildings, 76% residential, although I think that's more floor space, but it gives you an idea that just having a look at building stock in Colwood, most of them are residential. So if we're going to address these emissions, that would need to be a lead focus area. This strategy really recommended to focus on reducing barriers and maximizing opportunities that were found both across BC and specifically in Colwood. We have a lot of opportunities to leverage those regional and provincial initiatives and local partnerships in doing this work. Some of that could fit into what we do now, and some of it may be some things that we'd need to consider adding on. So just to wrap up, this technical report provides you with an update for where we are at and what information we've been able to pull together. And will be posted on Let's Talk Colwood after this meeting. I'll just note that the original plan was to bring this draft building retrofit strategy to council on June 23rd. That'll be pushed a little bit, but when we do bring that, we'll have a comprehensive presentation from staff and the lead consultant to bring you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. Questions, Council? Councillor Jensen.
Thank you. And I mean, this is great. It certainly shows where we're at. I guess my question is more philosophical. I never thought I'd sit here and tell you that we would see the walking back of the actual carbon tax in this country. Yet here we are. The loss of federal and soon to come provincial incentives for the purchase of EVs, which is evaporating. And then further to that, I don't have a magic 8 ball to speak of, but you can presume that some of these incentives to do with hydro, BC Hydro, are going to get walked back at some point because the provincial government is broke. I can verify that for you. And where do we see this ending up? I mean, we're putting a lot of work into this. The community's invested in it and it's worthwhile. And yet it feels like the yardsticks are moving, the sands are shifting, whatever metaphor you like. And here we are still trying to trudge forward. And it feels to me like it's going to fall back to the consumer, and their ability to pay is going to be challenged. And I guess, long story short, where do we go from here? And do you have any insight in your network of experts as to where they see this evolving to, in the coming even just couple of years? That's big picture, and I apologize. So,
thank you for the questions. Very big questions, and I'm not sure that I really have an answer for you right now. I assume that you're talking beyond building retrofits, but climate action on a broader sense. And certainly things are shifting, and there's, yeah, we're gonna have to be alive to those shifts and consider what is within our power to do to support and to keep moving things forward and to advocate. And the best we can do as staff is to take fresh looks at things and come back and provide you with new information and our best recommendations for what we're able to do.
I apologized before I said it, or before I made my statements. And I thank you for your candor. And I guess I would have a tough time, holding this community to a far higher standard when the rest of the province is moving in a different direction, because the ability for the consumers' ability to pay in this regard has completely evaporated, and jobs are being lost and economies are shifting, if not failing. So it is big picture, and I am thinking more our overall global, our personal climate strategy, and I would hope that we're nimble enough that if we have to pivot, we can. Because I'd hate to think that we're left as a bit of an island while the rest of the province and the country shifts in a slightly different direction. I guess that's the end of my statement. I won't ask you to reply, Carol. Thank you.
Councillor Grove. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The last photograph there, it was a lot of years ago. That was 2012, because I'm looking a bit younger on that roof. That was me in the white, Baker's whites on the roof. But anyway, that project was the first for us, for me. It was beginning an electric vehicle charger there. There was significant renovation. We did windows, which included also a film to protect from heat coming in, an awning for the same reason, insulation, electric, a whole new furnace, which was much more efficient than what we had been using. Electric oven, deck ovens instead of the old propane. There used to be a propane tank sitting there. Some of you might remember, 1,200 liter tank. It was a big pig sitting, and it cost us a fortune to run that thing. Solar panels that you see, we added 10 more 6 months later from this photo, and many other small things that we did. The notion that incentives are needed is to some, I won't argue incentives, but to give people a bit of hope, perhaps. We pursued this entire renovation, and it was quite successful on holding down our utility costs and making the atmosphere in which that place was to work far better. And the product improved. Like, there were just so many upsides to that whole effort. I think that we can hope for incentives and government supports, but perhaps there's more hope there than I thought, because we did it really with no incentives available. We just went at it. The element I wanted to mention was the construction waste part of this retrofit strategy. I think it ties in the construction waste, reducing that when a project begins. I don't think there's anything on the books in Colwood about that, and I think some other municipalities are doing it, partly driven by the Heartland landfill filling up. But I also was a question for you would be if you had any notion if we could get, like, if there's someone in town in Colwood that's going to be doing a retrofit project, is there some way to align with them by way of developing the data and perhaps a comprehensive report following their project kind of thing? And is that a way to get like a handbook of true lived experience on such a thing? It's just a stab in the dark, but I wonder if maybe that would fit somehow.
Thanks for the question and for highlighting your experience there as well. Actually, your thoughts and ideas on that are part of some actions within the current draft strategy we're working on right now. I think that providing some opportunities to try out these things and figure out, some of the things that maybe feel complicated or, that are barriers, if we can do that in Colwood and highlight those to the community, and just, it may help to reduce some of those barriers, and just from people's experiences and highlighting projects and best practices. And yeah,
That's what I'm getting at. That's great. It's very heartening to hear that, and I'm really excited about this project. Thanks.
Thank you. Hi, Carolyn. I am just curious. I have to admit, I had to skim through a good amount of your technical report because it's lengthy. But we did do Solar Colwood from 2011 to 2015. And there was a lot of good things that came out of unexpected places in that part of the deal to get your grant for either solar hot water or energy retrofits, ductless split or heat pumps at that time, began with having to do an energy audit of your house. That was mandatory. And that was kind of one of the bonuses that you got that relatively inexpensively because of the program. And a lot of the people who considered doing one of those things, either solar hot water or a heat pump of some type, to convert their existing houses, found that what came out of that energy audit of their house was, in fact, as far as it went, but still very helpful. It still reduced people's heating bills to think about replacing certain windows or gap sealing or adding insulation. Those types of projects did take place. So was that data included in your work? And just, is it part of your plan to um, continue that type of work? The energy audit itself can give people a lot to work through.
Thank you for the question. Yes, the information from Solar Colwood was factored in with the consultant's analysis. I can let them speak to how they dealt with the data. Unfortunately, I can't provide that level of detail about the analysis, but definitely the home energy audits are a really important factor. They've been part of when folks are applying for larger rebates from federal or provincial government. That's been an element of it, and certainly provides a lot of information about what that people might not know about how their house is performing, and what sometimes very simple things could be done to make big changes on that. The BC government has a BC Energy Planner platform that will kind of provide estimates of performance of all buildings in BC. And the folks who have those energy audits will be able to go in and update and correct their data if they have an audit. So it gives you a better picture and gives us a better picture of where things are at, and would be very helpful. So that's going to be one of part of the recommendations in the draft strategy, to make use of energy audits to support folks in being able to get those energy audits, which helps in terms of education and opportunities, but also the language of how we're talking about and thinking about buildings. And even when people are purchasing buildings, if that awareness is increased, then maybe they're going to be thinking about the building performance as they're doing their purchases. So there's many opportunities connected with energy audits, and I think that those are going to be important to leverage in what we might be able to do at Colwood. So I hope that
That's great.
yeah.
And I just, the last thing that I'd like to add is that when we become aware of companies that are doing excellent work in Colwood, perhaps we could find a way to recognize those people who are going above and beyond to help residents achieve these sorts of benefits with less stress, so that we can actually recommend people, or they can display that they got a good business award from Colwood for their work here.
Okay, I'll just wrap it up here, Caroline. It's just one of the pieces of data that you show. I don't want us to fall into false sense of security, because I'll tell you what happened. I thought we were doing really good on our sewage conversion, people on sewer and people on septic. But what it was is that we've got so many new houses being built and they're all on sewer. It actually made our really bad numbers before, that we were in the 70s, where, how many people, 70% say, well, how many people are on septic? And then all of a sudden I saw that number going down. I'm going, all those people converting? No, it's actually the new builds. So you're going to find that here too, because if you notice on your graphs, like I was looking at the graphs, Langford, look at how many houses brand new houses they built. So of course they should be up in the 76%. So instead of using those percentages, I'd be very careful with those, because they will, if we're using that as a metric, they will give us a false sense of security, or, not the right data. It's just one comment. It's a comment. The second one is, the question I have is, the provincial government had announced, I know David Eby had announced, it was either 100 million or 125 million dollar money for people that wanted to convert to heat pumps. Saw that in the news. So what is the mechanism? Have we applied for this? Is it something we have to do through the municipality, or do people have to apply through the province?
Thank you. There's some shifting in some of the rebates and whatnot right now, so you have to get updated information. But right now, people apply on their own to the provincial government for their rebates, and we have the Home Energy Navigator program that all residents and building owners in Colwood can access that service that helps guide through that process, and the different steps it would take to plan and to get your quotes and to apply for those rebates and all the boxes you need to check. So that is a really good support program. But that's done on an individual basis. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So, yeah, that's all the questions I have from there. But, just to answer the question earlier, yeah, it's, it was a bit, I found it a bit depressing of what was happening right now, and how climate action has just moved from, near the top of the priorities, and it's just, it's fallen. We can't control that. I wake up and I'm an eternal optimist, right? But we can control things. We can do what we're doing right now. There's a lot of good things that we're doing here. It's basically grassroots. The people of our city make us look good. I tell you that right now. And so I'm so positive about this, so I'm, my attitude is, yeah, there's certain things. Yeah, I know certain areas. I've been already told there's no funding for this, no funding for that now. And you're going, geez, but there are things that we can't control. And we can only do things that we can control. And so I'm going to be an optimist. I am always optimistic about things. Every day I wake up and I'm above this side of the ground, I'm happy. So I just ask everyone, council, just be patient with this. This is going to be a cycle. It really is a cycle. And we're down in that, we're going down in different ways because of the leadership and the political will. And, but we can only control what we can control. And we forge forward, and, things like just helping people, if there's some way we can get involved in, making sure that people within the city know where to get these rebates from, this new announcement, that would be a good thing, just keeping them informed. It's no cost to us, but it's a good thing to do. So there's just certain things that we can do. So that's all we can control. So I guess I'm more positive. In fact, I had a chance to talk to our newly anointed MP, and I told her, you want to get us all in electric cars, drop that tariff on the Chinese cars. That's as simple as that. You can get it's 10,000 US, say about 18,000 Canadian for a BYI, and why not? I was going to buy a Tesla, but now I've decided I'm not going to buy a Tesla in protest. Well, my wife has decided she's not going to buy a Tesla in protest. But so I just want to be positive about this, everyone. So that's my message. Oh, Councillor Olsen, sorry. I'll let you have the last word.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I just wanted to highlight, and I'm sure you're aware that BC Hydro is offering a $4,000 rebate right now for converting to a heat pump. So I just wanted to get that on the record for anyone that is looking. I'm currently converting from baseboard heat to a heat pump. Yeah, so I just wanted to point that out, but there are rebates still out there, but it is on the onus on the person to go and seek them out. So just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, thanks very much for sharing that, Councillor Olsen. And on that note, seeing no other comments, thank you very much, Carolyn. Keep up the good work. Okay. Move on to 8.4, and that's Heather Power. You're going to talk to us about the merged committees, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Council. I'm here to present the draft terms of reference for the newly merged Transportation and Infrastructure Committees and the Parks and Environmental Committee. The proposal is before Council for approval following the resolution passed at the regular Council meeting on April 14th, 2025 to merge committees with overlapping mandates. Staff have prepared draft terms of reference for both committees, which include recommendations for the appointment of alternating co-chairs and the structure of the committees for Council's consideration. And with that, I'd leave it to Council, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, questions, Council? Open the floor. Seeing none, can I? Okay, move. Okay, Councillor Jensen, seconder, please. Councillor Day, and discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the question. Are there any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimous. We'll move on to the new 8.5, which is 6.2. Cheers. Again, it's yeah, I think it's your question. I think you have a question on this, Councillor Day. Go ahead.
Thank you. I spoke to the chair of Access West Shore just to connect with her. She's been the chair of previously the Intermunicipal Advisory Committee on Disability Issues, which was quite a mouthful. And when they became a nonprofit society, they changed their name to Access West Shore. She's been working in Colwood on accessibility for 30 years as chair. And she was very pleased to have had the accessibility plan forwarded to them for comment. But unfortunately, due to some of the members being away and having some challenges, she has not been able to provide input back to us yet. So I'm simply would like to make the motion that we refer this to a future council when we have got that feedback. I think they just need a couple weeks to get it all together and back to us.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Councillor Jensen. And I'll open the floor for discussion. Councillor Jordison.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to first let staff know that the final report is actually not attached to the agenda. There are track changes still in it. But I guess I just wanted to say that that I think that going forward, that I said it before, and I wasn't really thrilled that this committee was not led with community members that have accessibility issues, and that staff within the West Shore at the different cities got together and ran this committee. And so I just want to say that you know, I just think that with community members that have accessibility issues are probably the best people that should have been included and worked alongside with when going through what was mandated by the province. And you know, some staff even had to go and be certified within the group that was formed. And you know, I think somebody that has an accessibility issue, they don't need to be certified. They live it every day. And I think that they're you know, how they experience life is really important, and that that should have been enough, and they should have been able to work alongside with them. So I just really feel it was a missed opportunity, and I just hope that we can do better in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments? So the motion on the floor is just to defer this until IACP. Yeah, I thought that was kind of odd that you wanted us to do the readings tonight, and yet IACP, and I felt very uncomfortable by not having IACP have the comments, because we've already, you know, seen that show before. And we better learn some lessons from it. So I didn't feel comfortable in actual fact in doing all the 3 readings on this tonight. So I do agree with the motion on the floor. And seeing no other questions on this, or I'll just move on to calling the question. All those in favor of the motion? Any, okay, none opposed, it's unanimous. So we're going to defer this until IACT has the opportunity to review it and they get back to us with comments. We will move on to 8.6, which is the old 6.4 Quarry Park Phase 2 interim park treatment plant. And I think Councillor Ward, you wanted to address something in it. Helps if I turn you on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just on this particular motion, I want to say that I definitely agree with the recommendation that came forward from the committee, with one minor exception. A conversation I had with the property owner or developer at this point led to a little more exploration. So I looked into the meeting that occurred, and then based on some comments there, spoke with an individual in the UK, actually, who's a groundskeeper for football or soccer here in similar conditions. And he indicated that the hydro seeding that was requested is obviously ideal. It provides a uniform surface. This is a recreation field. It should be made very clear. This is designed, purpose-built to be a soccer field, with the long-term potential to migrate from grass to turf if we invested the money, but initially it would be a grass field. So he expressed some concern with the commentary in there about adding meadow grass. In certain circumstances, he said, meadow grass mixed in with hydro seed, with Kentucky bluegrass and other things can work. But in a climate like this, he said, meadow grass can be a threat. It germinates at a slightly lower temperature, so earlier than other grass, and then grows much faster. And he said, basically here, if you're not careful, within 3 years, that's going to be the dominant species. So what should be your soccer field will need to be torn up and redone. So there's a potential cost down the road that's significant for adding in something that may not have any purpose really related to the goal of this, which is a purpose-built recreation field, not a meadow or a park. So I thought I'd put that out there. I'm prepared to amend it just by striking the section that says that the hydro seeding be a mix of grass and meadow. I would defer to the expertise in our Parks Department to work with the developer to determine the choice of seed to make sure that it's cost effective long-term for us, and that we get a soccer field, not something that needs to be resurfaced. So I would certainly welcome any commentary from our Parks lead who is here through the chair if that's feasible.
Gord.
Well, thank you through the chair. Just some clarification, Councillor Ward. I think the soccer field that's going to be provided will be like a athletic field grade, and just the areas that are not being programmed, or not programmed, but the extra area for dust control will be grass and what the committee said meadow, but that would not be part of an actual athletic field. It would just be more of a green space at this point, where the soccer field that is going to be provided will be a full athletic field with the right turf grass.
Then I would suggest maybe we amend the motion to indicate that the field portion would be hydro seeded with grass only, because the reading of it right now, and I think this is what triggered the developer to speak with me about it as well, was that it indicates right now, it's in blanket terminology. It just says that there'd be a small layer of organic fill and hydro seed on top of the current fill material throughout Quarry Park Phase 2, and that the hydro seeding be a mix of grass and meadow. So it doesn't provide that breakout, which is logical when you say it that way. But as it's written, it opens the door to kind of a blanket mix throughout the whole thing. So I'd be seeking some clarity on that in the wording.
Yeah, we just put an amendment in right now if you want to make the amendment.
Yeah, I'd make an amendment that the soccer field be seeded with grass, and that areas outside the athletic field be seeded with a mix of various grasses per the Parks Department.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Grove seconds it. Any further discussion? Councillor Day.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that there will be some sort of a guarantee period here because hydroseeding has been fairly unsuccessful at times in the past. And I don't want the timing of what we want to end up creating future budget problems for us.
Gord, you probably have something here.
Thank you, through the chair. My understanding would be that, that it would have to be hydroseeded and it would have to actually perform. And if it didn't perform, it would be under warranty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Seeing no other comments or questions, I'll call the questions. All those in favor of the amendment, please. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. And to the original motion as amended. Moved. Okay, Councillor Jensen, Councillor Grove. Discussion. Seeing none, call the question. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimous. We'll move on. Thank you. And we now go to 8.7, which is the old 6.5. And who brought, oh, I think that was Councillor Days. Yes, Councillor Day, you have specific questions for Mari? Oh, we're gonna mute you. There we go.
I'm just looking for my,
We'll
I
hit
did
you.
send all
Oh,
my
sorry.
questions in.
I jumped the gun because I forgot we're allowed to let people comment the item here. I'm very sorry. I forgot, Carol, please.
So this is a request to Mayor and Council that I speak on this issue prior to the discussion, public participation. And I know I need to ask permission for this because I have already previously spoken.
Oh, we're good.
Yeah, okay, all right. Regarding the rezoning application of 2420, 2426, 2428 Souk Road, Scenic recognizes the location at VMP and Souk as appropriate for higher density as it is close to transit, access to local business, and is a suitable site for underground parking. We are pleased to note that, however, that no clearing of land will occur until such time as a building permit and environmental development permit has been issued. We are also aware that Colwood City is considering forward-thinking natural asset management planning, and Scenic is hopeful that this conscientious regard for protecting natural assets will lead the city towards a careful, mature tree retention around the apartment building footprint. The city's draft urban forest management strategy encourages us to look for opportunities to retain as much of our urban forest as possible. If we look kitty corner to this development site across Souk and Veterans Memorial, we see the recent commercial development site removed all trees, including very mature trees, right to the property line. This is how we have done development in the past, but Scenic and other Colwood residents are asking the city to consider the value of these carbon sinks, shade providers, and wildlife habitats when rezoning and development applications are requested. We can do development differently with these natural assets in mind. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Carol. And I'll go back to Councillor Day if you want to push a button. Sorry. Councillor Day.
Thank you. So my first questions are in regard to the memo that was attached for more information on the stormwater right-of-way. So the plan proposes that it be moved from its current location and decommissioned and put adjacent to the roadway. But the water that is carried through that area comes from as far away as Carindale Road, Fulton Road, including Boutique Place, down VMP, the north side of Triangle Mountain, pretty much all the drainage water is coming down this area. And there is a number of homes in behind, which the name of the road escapes me at the moment, in behind City Hall here that have been flooding regularly for about 25, 30 years as a result of water retained in the Patterson pit. And we have had numerous presentations over the years on all encompassing plans to deal with this stormwater. So with all of the money that has been spent and all of the plans that have been made, I would hate for us to be limiting our drainage footprint without consideration of that plan. And I didn't see anything in the report about that.
We have a response from staff. Mari, you want to take it on? John, okay, John.
I'm quite certain Murray would like me to answer this shortly. From a stormwater perspective, the system that this pipe is running to on the Fulton side and Tyler Pettepiece, our capital lead, can speak a little bit more to one of his core projects is the stormwater master plan. So if you want details, we can give those to you. But the piece that breaks the water that goes down Carindale from Triangle Mountain into the Patterson pit note that way is a separate system than this system. Basically, storm systems are aligned with what we call basins. So depending on your topography, each basin has an area that it flows surface water wise and goes in a different direction. Occasionally, we'll take that piping system and move it contrary to the surface water flow. But in this particular case, the system that's being utilized here does not actually impact the Carindale, Patterson, Allendale lands from a drainage system going that way. All of this work is going in the opposite direction, what you'd call the northwest side of Triangle Mountain as opposed to the southeast side of Triangle Mountain. So it doesn't really impact it with regards to that.
There was a referendum for that water to be directed to Colwood Creek Park in the past from the Allendale area on the other side, as you say. That was proposed in previous years. So I just wanted to be very clear where our plans might be limited by this change.
Thank you. One of Tyler's projects that he's working on, again, if we want to get into details, Tyler can get a little more in depth. He's actually working on a project with exactly that, figuring out the Allendale land drainage system, where it's going to go. Part of that review is also our DCC stormwater project. And one of those solutions or alternatives is to take the water to Colwood Creek, but that hasn't been determined whether that's the best solution. This wouldn't necessarily deny that option from occurring. It may enhance that option, but it wouldn't deny that option.
Okay, Councillor Day.
I thought I was getting more information.
Okay,
because-
Apologies. John did a great job of explaining that. So, yeah, that is correct. Yeah, that water, it would not impact the current design that we have ongoing for the drainage at Allendale lands. That is one solution, is having part of that go into Latoria Creek as a storage option, which we're currently looking at. But this pipe, as it currently sits for this development, it does have capacity issues. So this project would be upgrading and improving the capacity of that pipe, but does not impact the Allendale project. So.
Sorry, you're sending the water up over the mountain to Latoria Creek?
You just misspoke, Tyler. You called it Latoria Creek instead of Colwood Creek. He meant Colwood Creek.
There we go.
Sorry.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
This got me a little concerned there for a minute. Great. I guess I still feel concerned. There was a well there that was given to us with VMP. So I sure would like to understand what's happening with their stormwater better, but I'll leave it at that for that part. I guess my next natural question is about the entrance and exit from the potential development that will result from this. It is a very busy road, and there are actually 4 lanes just on one side of the road. There's a right turn lane, a left turn lane, and 2 lanes going straight through that intersection coming from the north towards Latoria Road. This project, I'm wondering how do the cars enter and exit? That's an intersection that's at afternoon peak hours is regularly backed up. And there's been a lot of conflicts between left turners coming north and west and right turners going south and west.
Thank you, Your Worship, through the Councillor Day. This particular project is interesting in that when we first were approached by the developer, one of the things we suggested was to try to acquire some of the properties that were east of his properties, to try to move that entrance as far away to the throat of the intersection as he could. And a result of that, I believe he did purchase one extra property to try to get that entrance as far away as it could. But ultimately, staff is really just guiding the applicant with regards to success with the Ministry of Transportation. Ministry of Transportation has full authority on this right-of-way. It's within their jurisdiction, both on VMP and Souk Road. I can tell you that right now, the ministry is doing a study on a roundabout in that area. So in my, I was previous to the election, but currently what I've got from staff is that they're continuing to go down that road, and it is going to be a roundabout. What they haven't decided is whether it's going to be a double roundabout or a turbo roundabout. So when they look at this project, they will definitely look at that entrance and go, okay, can it be made and can it be located in that piece with regards to the design of that ultimate roundabout? The other piece that I've had in those discussions is conversations about the width of the right-of-way. And as you know, council has given staff permission to ask for 30-meter right-of-way along the Souk corridor throughout what we have authority on. But currently in conversations with the ministry, when I let them know that, thinking, hey, they're going to be happy with us, they said, well, we're actually looking for 32.
Wow.
So there may be an opportunity, I shouldn't say opportunity, but there may be a conversation with the developer saying, we'd like to see some extra width there. Again, it'll go back to where they're at with that study and how much land they need and whether they think they have enough and what that looks like. So again, we're really just guiding here. We're not really ultimately the authority. We are pushing it that way. And as it sits now, it'd be right turn in, right turn out. There would be no left turn movements in either direction.
Okay, I think that would present some challenges for the residents that would live there. Also, the plan includes the removal of 57 protected trees, and that means that they're significant species and size that are all contributing to our carbon sequestration. I've also actually seen large raptors flying across the intersection there from those trees. So it is, I don't feel that we've had much of a adaptive design process when we're proposing a 6-story building in this area. It also suggests, the report suggests that we would grant this the transit designation. And the transit is not particularly good in this area. The transit bus that most frequently travels there comes once an hour on a very long circular route. There is occasionally the other buses that come through there, but it's not a route that you could rely on fast service to any of the business centers. And I realize not everybody has to take transit, not everybody has to drive a car, but it's the least safe place to walk or ride. I wonder if staff could comment.
Yeah, thank you very much for the questions. So in speaking with the OCP designations of the three properties, so they are dual designated in the OCP as neighborhood hillside and transit growth. So the idea of the transit growth designation is they are neighborhood or neighborhood hillside lots within 200 meters of Souk Road or Kelly Road. So those are both our transit growth areas. And the OCP designation speaks essentially to having an increased density within those areas to support increased transit frequency. So BC Transit is going to look to us to have increased density to increase the frequency of transit. So that is what our OCP says and is consistent with other rezoning applications we have approved along Souk Road.
This particular portion of Souk Road, however, would have to compete with the existing transit routes, which are traveling currently through Langford on Jacqueline Road. They're not traveling on Souk Road between Kelly Road and Jacqueline Road, particularly at all. And that therefore that makes it unlikely, in my opinion, that that this would facilitate encouraging transit to put buses in this particular location, simply because there's so many more projects already built on the other existing corridor where the buses are going. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All good questions, actually, Councillor Day. Very well thought out. Any other questions on this? Would you, are you entertaining some type of amendment of any sort, Councillor Day? Okay, thank you. Okay, there's a recommendation, and thank you, like I said, thank you for the questions. There's a recommendation from the Planning and Land Use Committee in the agenda from April 7th. And if I can get a motion at this point in time, mover and seconder of the recommendation. Okay, thank you, Councillor Jensen. Councillor Ward. Sorry. Yes.
I just wanted to speak to the amendment that the Planning and Land Use Committee made regarding the pathway improvements. So it was included as the memo that was attached to tonight's council meeting. So we just wanted to provide some clarification about that conversation. So basically that pathway improvement is a condition within the development agreement for this application. And staff are providing pretty detailed requirements for that pathway improvement. And the reason for that is we use the development agreement as a tool to implement. So the more details that are provided, the easier it is for staff to implement. These negotiations should be occurring at the time of rezoning and not later in the process at development permit or building permit. And then so basically staff are suggesting that you keep the word asphalt within that development agreement so that staff don't have to negotiate later in the process. That doesn't necessarily mean that the pathway will be asphalt at the time of detailed design. If an alternative surface treatment is deemed more appropriate, then that's okay, but staff don't have to negotiate that. So it would be an asphalt pathway or less is essentially what it is. And I also just wanted to clarify that that pathway is existing. It is a gravel pathway that already connects from VMP to Cecile Blog Drive. So an asphalt, it would be an improvement to that pathway. Thank you.
Whereabouts is this in the motion, in the recommendation then? Oh, it's the memo. Oh, okay, that's, oh, okay. Oh, please, actually, it's up for discussion. Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you. I concur with what Mari's saying. As the chair of the committee that was there for that meeting, the intent of the committee was clearly to allow staff to direct what the pathway treatment would ultimately look like. There was one committee member who expressed concerns about asphalt simply because it was going through a wooded area. But there were other factors that he'd overlooked, such as accessibility and other things. So ultimately, the decision made by the committee was to let staff make the decision, and do that, based on what they felt was best. And so I think the spirit of the committee recommendation was exactly that. So if staff are proposing to keep asphalt and then potentially amend it as need be, I don't think that would contradict the spirit of the committee's recommendation.
Thanks for that clarification. Perfect. Councillor Jensen.
Thank you, and well said by the chair. I too was part of that discussion, and the committee was quite keen on this pathway and improvements to the pathway, and the developer was quite eloquent in some of the reasoning as to why we may wish to avoid asphalt. I think we accepted all of that, and I do like how that's framed by you, Mari, because we start with the highest standard and work backwards, and if we find a more suitable surface for that path, I believe the committee was quite keen about a more natural environment as opposed to a sidewalk plowed through the forest. So I think you got the essence of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jordison.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask if it would be appropriate to amend the motion to achieve a 32 meter road allowance in that area, as Mr. Rosenberg spoke of.
John, do you want to comment on that, please?
Thank you, Your Worship, through Councillor Jordanson. At this time, I certainly wouldn't be comfortable, I think, putting that into that piece. That definitely is a ministry conversation, and that whole corridor is, they've got significant plans at this time. They've sent me plans coming up around Allendale Road and coming in behind Cecil Blog to get traffic and have like a service road coming back through our existing lots, which again would require our approvals and authority. But I do know that's their intent, but certainly from our perspective, 32 doesn't serve us, but it may serve the ministry.
Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you. Councillor Day.
Thank you. I have heard great discussion, but I didn't hear an amendment being moved. And currently what I understand is on the table does not include the word asphalt. So I would just like to make that amendment that the proposed pathway be treated with asphalt per the staff recommendation.
Sure. I'm okay with that. But I thought we were pretty flexible in saying it was their call, right? I think that's how. Oh, yep, certainly. Councillor Ward.
In terms of procedural, I think Councillor Day is accurate. The memo indicates they would prefer asphalt be reinstated. So we would defer back to the original recommendation. So I would second that motion.
Just further discussion on the amendment. Seeing none, I'll just call the question on the amendment. Any opposed? Seeing none, the amendment motion passes. Okay, going back to the original motion as amended. Any other discussion? Oh, yes, Councillor Ward.
I did want to just touch on the comments that Councillor Day had made about traffic, and I think someone else brought it up as well. I mean, I mentioned it in the committee meeting. It doesn't sit well with me that we continue to have access points along major routes. Talking the North Latoria plan comes to mind. Souk Road comes to mind, where we've approved that development adjacent to the cemetery. These are all going to be problematic. However, I also believe that in this case, the developer has made, every attempt to find the best solution possible with the guidance of the city. The only other thing that came to mind was to have an access down through Cecil Blog. But then, I recall the discussion with some of the residents by Hatley Park when the proposal was to run, access back there. You'd have, that entire neighborhood up in arms about traffic coming through their neighborhood. So it is a no-win, but I think the developers acted in good faith with with guidance by the city to do the best they can. And it's kind of a rock and a hard place. You know, we can tell somebody you can't build on a piece of land because it will irritate a few people and then there'll be some challenges. But I think if we manage it with a right turn in, right out, yes, some of the residents may not like it, but that's what they're buying. And then it's up to enforcement. And it won't work perfectly. I know that. But I don't think we have an alternative in this case. So it's, you know, it's one of those situations that crops up and will continue to crop up on Sioux Road. And I don't know how best we deal with it. I kind of throw it out to staff that long term, this is going to continue to be an issue. Maybe there's a way to preempt it with some of these things that come forward and have things like right in, right out built into the agreement in advance of coming to council. But I'll leave it at that. I will support it as is.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ward. Yeah, I watched the video on that, so it was very interesting discussions. At this point in time, seeing no other comments or questions, I'll call the question on this. All those in favor of the motion as amended? Any opposed? And we'll show that Councillor Day has opposed. Motion carries. Okay, we're going to move on to the new. I'm getting lost myself now. The new 8.8, yeah, which is the 6.7, the alternate cross section for V&B. And I think you pulled that out, Councillor Day. So we have questions specifically for Mr. Bayless.
I pulled this largely because I've thought about this issue a lot since the meeting. The issue is whether or not it should be an alternative cross section with the multi-use path on one side on VMP from Carindale all the way to Latoria, or if it should be as per the treatment in the transportation master plan. And I really feel that this area is more suitable to the original transportation master plan cross section. There's a few reasons for that. When we first acquired Havenwood Park, it wasn't 2 months before we had our first homeless person in the park. This corridor is actively used. It connects quite closely with the Galloping Goose Trail, where a significant issue has developed in the Langford area with homeless people. And opening this up is just going to create a bigger issue for that type of scenario. And the active transportation routes should really be on flatter ground. They should be through the Allendale area and through the cemetery and through Machosen and Kelly and the areas that are conducive to families being able to use them. So I asked for this to be pulled because I really can't support this. It's going to end up removing a lot of green space along Havenwood Park on the east side and create more problems than it solves, given that there is a very small number of people actually using Veterans Memorial Parkway. I do see people. It's not that there aren't people there. It's not a huge number. So thank you.
Yep, thank you very much. Councillor Jensen.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple of things. There was a great discussion at the committee. They were very active and involved. And in fact, you know, I think there was a lot to like about the 3-meter multi-use pathway. And I think if you think around the region where there are some of these 3-meter pathways, you know, that I've walked or cycled or pushed one of my children, I think they're actually quite luxurious and a step up from a 1.8, 2-meter sidewalk. So I do concur with Councillor Day in one regard, and that is it probably isn't going to be the best used or most used pathway within the community. But with that extra width and the additional distance away from the traffic, the through traffic, I think it will attract people in the neighborhood to use it. I wouldn't go so far as to say that I would support sidewalks up both sides. I think, quite frankly, that might be just a bit of a bridge too far and expensive. But I think this is an excellent alternative option. And certainly there was no discussion about any connection with a pathway and thoughts about the homeless population in the West Shore committee at all. So I'm not sure how to process that, but I will be in support of this recommendation that came from the infrastructure committee. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it's funny. I went into this thinking the cross section and then watching your committee meeting, I switched and went with the multi-use pathway. Mainly because just from experience, access to Galloping Goose, it's a horror show right now along BMP. It really is. It's nuts. And that's it's changed my mind a lot right now on this whole issue. So I'm going to be supporting it also. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I will support it as well. I think though, Councillor Day, almost your explanation works towards my support in some sense, just because I don't see VMP as a ideal cycling corridor for people because of the hills and things. So having lanes on both sides from a bike lane perspective doesn't make sense to me. I can see that traffic instead, as you said, taking the easier path. So creating the multi-use pathway, I think, still creates a bike and pedestrian friendly route that to me aligns a little more nicely with things like a destination like Havenwood Park, and potentially aligns with what we were talking about in North Latoria. Now that's, maybe way out there, but when we talk about building some connectivity through the creek that comes down there, if in a future state we end up with a park there, a natural park along the creek in North Latoria, this east side pathway could align with that, which would then feed along a pathway down through a realigned Latoria Creek, and then join up with Latoria Creek Park and form part of a larger trail network that links our nature parks, as we go, but also provides that connectivity for folks on e-bikes or others that are going to make the journey up and over. So, I hear your concerns. I'm not being dismissive of them at all, but I think one multi-use pathway here to me just seems more feasible than spending the money on bike lanes for commuters and things like that. There, we can kind of kill two birds with one stone and create park connectivity, which I think matters. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, seeing no more discussion, the motion that is going to be on the floor, I'll be looking for a mover and seconder, is in 6.7 of the consent agenda. That's the Active Transportation and Infrastructure Committee recommend to council that the Veterans VMP alternative cross section be endorsed for VMP from existing infrastructure at Latoria Road intersection to existing infrastructure in proximity to Allendale Road in place of the arterial 30-meter right-of-way cross-section, SSD R22. Anyone would like? Okay, thank you, Councillor Jensen. Seconder, please. Councillor Olson. Further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And those opposed? Councillor Day opposes. Thank you very much. And that is everything on the new agenda. So we got through that. We're going to get into bylaws. And this is a good time to take a 5-minute health break. You're ready.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I will be providing just a brief synopsis of the short-term rental bylaw amendments. So council directed staff in September of 2024 to prepare amendments to the business license bylaw to require operators of short-term rentals to obtain a business license and provide options to ensure adequate parking. The province also has a deadline to register short-term rentals with the database today, May 1st, 2025. So a short-term rental is defined as a rental period of less than 90 consecutive days in accordance with provincial guidelines. Staff have also amended the fees and charges bylaw to include a $200 business license fee. Additionally, staff are repealing a separate fees and charges bylaw to eliminate duplicates and make the process a bit more user-friendly. Oops. So land use bylaw updates are expected concurrently with the Bill 44 updates by the end of this year. It is anticipated a short-term rental definition will be added as a permitted use auxiliary to residential uses. Additional information will be coming by the end of the year. So at this time, staff have not brought forward off-street parking bylaw amendments specifically for short-term rentals. The off-street parking bylaw currently requires one additional parking stall for a secondary suite or a garden suite. So if a resident decides to rent out their suite on a short-term basis, a parking stall is already accounted for. Staff recommend a one-year monitoring period to following adoption of these amendments to assess the impact. This may include updates to the off-street parking bylaw or an on-street parking policy in the future. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, I'll open the floor. Councillor Jensen, please.
Thank you, and thanks for this. That's quite fulsome. I'm making the assumption that we're completely congruent with the provincial regulations.
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect. And is there an opportunity, I guess, how to ask this properly, but will they be sharing data with us as far as provincial registrations? Like, is someone have to be registered with us and registered with the province? Is there overlap, or is there just one registration? Or
Yes, thank you for the question. So all short-term rentals need to register with the province, and it notes that if a municipality has a business license requirement, they also need to do that as well. We haven't had one in the past. We now will if these amendments pass. And yes, short-term rental companies are required to submit information monthly to the province, which I believe is shared to the municipality.
thank you. And I guess, will there be information sharing between us and the province then too, where there's an issue, or for us to allow to acquire data for us to gain an understanding as to what our needs are or how we're doing?
Yes, I believe that, yeah, the provincial, yeah, they will share information with us, and we can share if there's any issues that come forward.
Gotcha. And I know they have to display a provincial registration, but will they be required to display a business license as well?
Yes, that's correct.
On their
Both of them.
virtually, I mean, on their listing?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Thank you. I'm in support of what's presented here. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Councillor Day.
Thank you. I was very interested, recently received some input from a resident regarding the benefits of having short-term rentals, which is something that I hadn't considered before, especially if you lived in an older house that's maybe not so soundproof. Maybe it's a lot easier to have someone for a short period of time rather than a long period of time. I'm also aware that having the option to access short-term rentals could facilitate people who need to come to Victoria for medical procedures or other issues. So I'm just wondering, how does our business license fee for a short-term rental compare to other business license fees? I can't recall those off the top of my head.
Thank you very much for the question. So it is in alignment. It is a little bit higher than our other fees. For example, intercommunity business licenses, I believe $120, $150. So this is 200. It is noted that our business license fees are one time only. But it is in alignment with other municipalities such as Victoria and Saanich.
Okay, so if they only have to pay this fee once, it's not an annual fee.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just one quick question, Kelsey. And I only had a cursory view of it. There was an email that came in from someone that was questioning, I don't know if they were for or against it, like it wasn't quite clear in my head. Oh, okay. My question's been answered. Anyways, I shall see no other questions or discussion on this. I will, can I get a mover, please? Come. Okay, thanks very much. And second reporting. Yep. Councillor Olson. Councillor Grove and Olson, sorry. Okay. Discussion, seeing none. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Move on to bylaw number 2064. Do you want to add anything more, Jen, to this? Or we flog this to death? Jen?
Thank you, Mayor. I mean, the financial plan bylaw was adopted February 10th. We received the revised assessment roll. You'll recall financial plan, we're looking at $25.1 million in taxation revenue. These tax rates will generate that taxation revenue for us. We did land at a 7.9% tax increase overall for 2025. These tax rates ensure that that increase is consistent between all property classes. Pleased to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
That's pretty straightforward. So the only thing I'm going to request, Jen, is that before we, when we send out the notification, can council have a view of what we're going to say in that, so everyone is on the same page on that? I did a quick thank you very much for that summary, because when I spoke with, and I did say it was subject to approval tonight, but when I was talking with the business community today, the chamber members, it was interesting because, you know, I just did some quick math, and it was interesting that I went, holy mackerel, the police costs, I'm talking about, you know, for the extra officer and the e-com together are higher than our core services and enhanced services together. Isn't that something? When I saw that, I went, what? So it was a neat way of looking at it, though, but people understood it like that. That was the interesting way and how I decided to present it instead of breaking it all down. Anyways, at this point, any other questions for Jen on this? I think it's pretty straightforward. Can I get a motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Grove and Councillor Jensen. Discussion. Call the question. Any opposed? Seeing none, aye. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, 9.3. Can you just read these for us, Heather, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation.
9.3 we're on.
Okay. That Colwood Sewer Utility Bylaw 1500, 2011, Amendment number 12, and Schedule D, Bylaw number 2072, 2025, be given first, second, and third reading.
Motion, please, mover. Oh, okay, absolutely. Councillor Day.
Thank you. So I was recently doing a little more research on sewer costs, and noted that there was a memo at the CRD stating that our capacity within the sewer treatment plant is limited until 2045. And if we go over, there are significant penalties. Are the amounts that we're charging for our sewer user fees going to cover any penalties that we might incur?
Through the mayor, no.
So just a warning that we need to be cognizant that if there are sewer overage fees, those will be borne by all taxpayers.
Noted. So did I get a motion? Sorry, was there, we didn't get a motion in, did we, Heather? Okay, so can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jensen and Councillor Olson. Discussion, any further discussion? Seeing none, are there any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimous. Next one, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 9.4, the motion that staff is suggesting is that Colwood Land Use Bylaw number 151, 1989, amendment number 218, 2020 or 2420-2426-2428 Souk Road, bylaw number 2052, 2025 be given first, second, and third reading.
Okay, motion, please. Okay, Councillor Olson and Councillor Ward. Discussion? Seeing none, are there any opposed? Let it show that Councillor Day opposes. Motion carries. We'll move on, please.
Item 9.5, the motion that's in front of council is that the following sewer bylaws be given first, second, and third readings. Colwood Main Sewer Local Area Service Establishment and Loan Authorization Bylaw number 598, 2001, amendment number 166, LAS Enlargement 3448 Fulton Road, bylaw number 2060, 2025, and Colwood West Sewer Local Area Service Establishment and Loan Authorization Bylaw number 625-2001, amendment number 94, LAS Enlargement 3448 Fulton Road, bylaw number 2061, 2025.
Thank you very much. Motion, please. I'm looking to my right this time. Councillor Jordison and Councillor Grove. Discussion? Seeing none. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimous. And lastly.
Item number 9.6, the motion in front of council is that the following sewer bylaws be adopted. Colwood Main Sewer Local Area Service Establishment Bylaw or Service Establishment and Loan Authorization Bylaw number 598, 2001, amendment number 156, LAS Enlargement 2258A Souk Road, bylaw number 2058, 2025, and Colwood Central Sewer Local Area Service Establishment and Loan Authorization Bylaw number 480, 2001, amendment number 19, LAS Enlargement 2258A Souk Road, bylaw number 2059, 2025.
Thank you very much, Heather. That's why I don't like reading them anymore. Councillor Ward and Councillor Olson, please. Discussion? Seeing none, any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Motion for adjournment, please. Thank you, Councillor Day and Councillor Ward. Any opposed? No. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I said I'd do it.